Hello everyone, welcome to Business Statistics. Our discussion for today will be dealing about organizing numerical data. And today's objectives, first is to recall the definition of statistics. Second, construct table and charts for numerical data. Third, organize numerical data using the frequency distribution table. And lastly, utilize the Microsoft Excel in constructing table and charts. For our recall, in the business world, statistics has these important specific uses. To summarize business data, that's the first one. To second, to draw a conclusion from those data. Third, to make reliable forecasts about business activities. And lastly, to improve business processes. The definition of statistics comes in two forms. The first one would be the noun form, and the second one would be the verb form. For the noun form, statistics is the branch of mathematics that transforms numbers into useful information for decision makers. And for the verb form, statistics is the collection, presentation, or organization, analysis, and interpretation of data. Let me just highlight this second definition of statistics, wherein we have first word collection, second word is presentation or organization, third word would be analysis, and lastly would be the interpretation. Basically, this is actually the process of statistics. Normally, we collect data. After the collection of data, we present or we organize data. And after presentation or organization of data, you make an analysis of the data. And lastly, you make your interpretation of the numerical data. So there are two types of statistics, the descriptive statistics and the inferential statistics. Descriptive statistics are the method that help collect, summarize, present, and analyze a set of data, while inferential statistics are the methods that use the data collected from a small group to draw conclusions about a larger group. So basically, in descriptive statistics, we are describing the data that we have gathered. And for inferential statistics, we are now creating a conclusion or forecasting a conclusion about a larger group. For the uses of statistics, I will be mentioning 6. We have the sports, education, government, medicine and physical sciences, psychology, and business and economics. So for the first one, in sports, say in basketball, a player has an average on his points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, and others. Well, this data or statistics will eventually decide whether a player deserves to be paid more or less. So the better statistics you are showing on your data as a player, well, eventually you'll get paid higher. For education, statistical tools are used to get information on, say for example, enrollment, finance, and physical facilities. Well, these data are needed for intelligent administration and management. Under government, statistics are needed in managing the affairs of the state, like informations on death, birth, marriage, gross national income, taxes, etc. For medicine and physical sciences, methods for statistical design of experiments are valuable to researchers. Causes and effects of factors which affect experiments are best evaluated using statistical techniques. For psychology, well, they're able to understand human person better if they are able to systematize, analyze, and interpret data on intelligence scores, aptitude tests, personality trait ratings, and attitudes of the society. And for business and economics, statistics plays an important role in the following. First is the exploration of new markets for a new product. Another one would be forecasting of business trends. Another one would be control of the quality of goods produced and improvement of personal relations. Well, these are just few of the uses of statistics, and there are more that you could actually check. For collection of data, take note that we have two types of data. The first one is the primary data, and the second one is the secondary data. And of course, primary data has more advantages than the secondary data because it gives you a more reliable information. So primary data, these are data gathered directly from original source on which based on a direct or first-hand experiences. And for secondary data, information which are taken from the published or unpublished data. An example of primary data would be diaries and autobiographies. For secondary data, of course, you'll have the published books, magazines, newspapers, biographies, business reports. So those are secondary data. For the methods of collecting data, I am giving you 5. Some books mentions 4, but in our discussion we're dealing with 5. So first one is the direct method or the interview method. Second one is the survey questionnaire method, or we normally call it indirect method. Third one is the registration method. These are through records of the offices. And the fourth one is the observation method, normally conducted by psychologists, scientists, physicists. So it observes behavior of people, organization, or a specimen. And for experiment method, normally these are conducted by scientists and physicists. Okay, they actually make use of a scientific method. For methods of presenting data, normally we have 3, and these are the common: textual, graphical, and tabular method. In organizing data, so after you present your data, you have to organize it in a tabular form. First one is the organizing categorical data. We already talked about this, the summary table and the contingency table. The second one is organizing numerical data, in which this is our main discussion for today. We'll be dealing about ordered array and frequency distribution table. I have here terms which you actually need for frequency distribution table. These are very important terms which we'll be dealing with later. The first one is the frequency distribution or frequency distribution. This is the tabular arrangement of data by classes or categories. Second is the class interval. These are the categories with lower and upper limits. Normally we call this groups. Class frequency, the number of observations belonging to a class interval. Class mark is the midpoint of each interval, or normally we call it the representative of the group. And class boundary, these are the lower and upper true limits. So we'll have more of these terms as we go along with our discussion. On this discussion, I'll be talking about steps in constructing the frequency distribution table. But before we move on to these steps, let me just give you an example first. Okay, so I have here table 1.a. Table 1.a shows the data collected for a study of the cost of meals at 50 restaurants located in a major city and at 50 restaurants located in the city's suburbs. The unordered data in table 1a prevent you from reaching any quick conclusions about the cost of meals. So I have here the raw data. These are the costs per person at the city restaurant. And the second one is the raw data from suburban restaurant. Okay, so notice that they are not arranged in any order. Okay, so if we talk about ordered array, notice that this table 1 point or table 1b is now in ordered data. meaning the row data are now arranged in ascending order from least to highest. So comparing an ordered array and ordered array, notice that for ordered array, you can easily see the range wherein the lowest price is $21 and the highest price is $79 for city restaurant meal cost. For suburban restaurant meal cost, the range is 22 to 68, or the lowest price is $22 and the highest price is $68. Now, how do we organize this data? We'll now be needing the frequency distribution table. Okay, so in my table, I have chosen that I'll be having 6 groups, and I have chosen the first group to be from $20 to less than $30. Second group from $30 to less than $40. Third group from $40 to $50 or less than $50. And the last group is from $70 to less than $80. In my table, I have chosen these because it is easy to see if they are divided in 10 or they are arranged in 20s or 10s. Now normally, if we create a frequency distribution table, you will do this manually with tallying. So you'll have to put some sticks, and then after that you count the frequency for city and you count the frequency for suburban. But in our Excel, we'll not be dealing with manual creation of the table. So we'll scrap this tallying because we don't need that. Just simply use the way, or we'll simply use how Excel could help us in creating our frequency distribution table. So I have here the copy of the table. Now I'm gonna color. We'll be using the ordered array. I'll color the prices ranging from $20 up to less than $30, so I could easily categorize it. So this is the first group. Let me color that with a little shade of this green, say green. Then the second group, $30 to less than $40. Okay, I'll color this with yellow. Now $40 is not included in the second group. It should be on the third group, so that's from $40 to less than $50. Let me color that with the, say, blue. Less than $50, so we end up until here. Okay, so that's the third group. For the fourth group, we have 50 to less than 60. Okay, so let me color that with green. There you go. The fourth group, or the fifth group, from 60 to less than 70. $60 to less than $70. There you go. Let's change the color. And the last group would be from 70 to less than 80. So at this time, I'm not using tallying. Instead, I'll just simply count the color under my first group. So the number of frequency under city restaurant meal, first group, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 on my first group. That's from $20 to less than $30. Next group, I have 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the second group, the frequency of the second group. Third group, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So this is 19. Next is the fourth group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 frequency. This the fifth group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6. Then the last group would be 3. Okay. So instead of doing the tallying, I just simply made use of color coding on my Excel. So I could simply count them and place the frequency on my frequency distribution table. Okay. So if I'll be using the same method for suburban frequency, it might take me a little longer. I have another method of doing it using a formula called count ifs. Okay, so instead of doing the same method for city frequency, let me try another method for suburban uh, restaurant meal costs. I'll be using count ifs. Okay, the one with s, count ifs. Now this counts the number of cells specified by a given set of condition or criteria. So my criteria range would be this range or this set. Now my criteria should be, I want to count all item or all data from the range 20 to less than 30. So if I set my criteria here, I would like to have a greater than 19. Greater than 19 means 20, starting to 20. And less than 30. So using count ifs, this is your first criteria range, and your second criteria range would be greater than or less than 30. Less than 30. So that's greater than 19, that's 20, but less than 30. That's my criteria range. And press OK. And I have 5. Notice the first 5 is your first group, so that's correct. For the second group, I'll be doing the same formula. My range is still this set of numbers. My criteria would be, say, greater than 29. So that includes 30, but less than 40. Less than 40. Okay, so I have 3. Is that right? Looking at my formula, the symbol I pressed was actually less than. My symbol should be greater than. Press enter, and I have 17. For the third group, press equal. Use count ifs, your argument. So criteria range 1 would be this set. Your criteria should be greater than 29 or 39. So that starts from 40. Then we go to our criteria range 2. Your criteria 2 now would be less than 50. Press enter. And I have 17. Again, we do the same on the fourth group, count ifs. Criteria range 1. Criteria would be greater than 50. And then criteria range 2. Choose your sets of data. And your last criteria or criteria 2 would be less than 60. Okay. And then for the fifth group, count ifs, criteria range 1 is this set of data. Your criteria would be, you start with greater than 59, then go to criteria range 2, select your set of data. Criteria 2 would be less than 70. Enter. And we have 4. And last group, press equal sign, choose count ifs again. We have the set of data for criteria range 1. Your first criteria would be greater than 69. That includes or starts from 70. Criteria range 2, the same. And your criteria 2 would be less than 80. Okay? So notice we don't have 70 and above. The highest is 68. That's why we have our 0 in our last group. So if we add this up, it should sum to 50. Same with this, it should sum to 50. Okay? So as you notice, we were able to complete our frequency for the city restaurant meal cost and our frequency for our suburban frequency. So notice that most of the frequency are concentrated on the price $40 but less than, or starting from $40 but less than 50. That's for city frequency or city restaurant meal cost. And for suburban restaurant meal cost, it concentrates on the price range from $30 to less than $50. So you can actually come up with a conclusion that much of the meal cost at suburban restaurant meal cost would be cheaper compared to your city restaurant meal cost. Now, class mark is the midpoint of the class boundary. To get this, simply add your lower limit plus your upper limit. Then divide this by 2. So again, you add your lower limit and your upper limit divided by 2. I have removed the symbol less than so that the cell would be concentrating on pure numbers and Excel would be able to compute properly. So if I press equal sign, the number between these two boundaries, lower limit and upper limit, would be 50. If I copy the formula, it will eventually follow the same operation. So the class mark of the class boundary 70 to 80 would be 75. That's the midpoint. 6 to 70 would be 65. 50 to 60 would be 55. 40 to 50 would be 45. So this is the first group. The representative would be 25. So you can say that it's around $25 for 5 restaurant in a suburban city or suburban restaurant, and there are $25 meal for around 6 city restaurant, and that's how you use the class mark. For the third group, there are around $45 for around 17 suburban restaurant and 19 city restaurant. Okay, so this is simply an introduction of our frequency distribution table. On my next video, I'll be presenting the steps in constructing frequency distribution table. So again, our discussion for today is organizing numerical data, and thank you for watching.